While on the fuel subsidy removal, the suspended labor strike, discussing sensitive issues emanating from this, I'm having a very seasoned guest and economist, a lecturer at University of Benin, Dr. Presley Osemigye. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Philip. Good morning, Nigeria.
Nigerians were greeted by the suspended strike action of the labor unions, and how do you react to this?
Well, I think I had little or no, confidence on the NFC in terms of representing labor, given their past, antecedent. But let's not forget that there was a court, injunction from the industrial court
restraining the union,
restraining them from even going, proceeding with strike. Maybe that may be part of the reason why they quickly follow the pact of, the government, to try and accept, what government, decide to offer to them. But however, I think I scanned through, the agreement that was reached, although they said the meeting had been postponed again till on the 19th, where they'll form a tripartite, meeting to actually look at the impact, on the workers and other, sector in the economy. But I haven't said that. I think, let's also forget, let's go back to what actually led to this, where we are, this quagmire where we are today. There was a pronouncement by president, and that pronouncement has a pronouncement effect. And you could see the bubble and the shock, that the pronouncement, brought to the economy. Immediately there was adjustment everywhere, but the only thing that beat my imagination was that the plan of Mr. President, all this why after the election, he's traveling, all of that, was that he thought that, on that very day, May 29, I'm going to make a pronouncement to say subsidy is gone? Or was his statement or pronouncement misinterpreted, by some actors of the state, like the NPC and the like of others?
Okay.
No, I am still to date, taken aback by that statement, because that statement is not to wreck the economy, and that statement are further deepen the misery of Nigeria economy. And again, it's having a serious toll on both the workers, even the poor and the very poor in the society.
Okay, but let's not forget that even prior to the presidential election, even during the campaigns, the presidential candidate of the APC, who is now the president, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, and of course that of the PDP counterpart, Atiku Abubakar, and even the LP counterpart, Peter Obi, they all said that subsidy will be removed on fuel. So Nigerians basically were already expecting it, but it's just that we never knew it's going to be so sudden. Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not against the removal of fuel subsidy, but I'm against the process that led to the removal. Why the haste? It was too hasty to make such pronouncement. And there was no palliative on ground. As I speak to you, no palliative. The only thing NPC came to say that, federal government have directed, or Mr. President have directed, that we should make palliative on ground. Mr. Philip, tell me one palliative that have been put on ground as I speak to you. Okay. The only discussion on ground now is just around minimum wage. What happened to the very poor, that small, medium-scale enterprise at the corner of the house that has at least about 5 workers? What happened to them? Is there palliative for them? Okay. Now let me tell you this. See, the removal of fuel subsidy would have taken a process. There's a process you will use to remove fuel subsidy. For example, the president would have thought it through before that inauguration. This is what I would do. Let's also forget that there will be an appropriation by law, appropriation that fuel will be subsidized to the end of June. To the end of June. But the question I'm asking now, no importation has been made to date as I speak to you. How did the NFPC arrive at 511, per liter that is selling? That also that the other marketers are following suit. So at that price, no importation has been made. These are still old stock on depots. And again, meaning a group of persons are equally going to make huge, humongous gain, to the detriment of the very poor. Again, all of them quickly adjust. They adjusted their meters, start selling the new price. And that price they are selling now, that fuel they are selling has been, subsidized.
Okay.
So what happened?
Before we get to the impact it's already having on the economy, you are an economic expert. Can you please give us a prototype on how the government under President Tinubu should have gone through this process in a way that it will not be harsh on Nigerians eventually when the subsidy on fuel is removed?
Thank you very much. First, I do not believe in the removal of fuel subsidy. Even if fuel subsidy was going to be removed, the president would have taken time, to study the process. I said here one of the interview I had here, that the only thing a common man benefits as far as welfare is concerned in Nigeria is this fuel subsidy. And fuel subsidy have been ridden by a high level of corruption and what have you. Let me give you stats now. Let me dive deep into the issue of fuel subsidy. Do you know in 2016, the NNPC signed in a contract that crude will be exchanged for refined petrol? That's the swap deal. Up as I speak to you, since that date till now, we'll be hearing, biggest figures being announced that fuel is being subsidized. The question is, what happened to the deal? And recently, I think it was 2 days ago, that day or yesterday, the deal was terminated. Again, they said there's a subsidy. Number two, there's often this issue of saying that, the very poor, we are subsidizing the rich, or we are subsidizing our neighbor. That's the failure of the state. It's only in Nigeria that somebody who is a representative or a government or a representative of the government can boldly come to air to say, we are subsidizing our neighbor. Our food are being sold outside in our borders. The question I ask myself is that the food are going through the border. Who are supposed to mind this border? Is it me or you? And these are leaders who are supposed to protect the border. If our border is deep very bad and the state of the border is terrible, that means there's a failure elsewhere. Somebody has not done his job properly. And because there's a serious cabal, and Mr. President thought it wise to say, should I fight this cabal or should I push the pain to Nigerians? Which one will be easier? Okay. I'm coming. Are you aware that a major, let me not mention, I don't mention them now, a conglomerate from about 8 years didn't pay a single import duty to the tune of 16 trillion.
Okay, we'll extend the frontiers of this discussion because what you've just said now, are really begging for questions.
Yes.
And there's going to be follow-up questions in regard to what you just said. But we're going to be taking a short break on this discussion, after which we extend the frontiers. Do stay.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you for staying on. While we had a break, we were hit by the unmistakable presence of a civil rights activist, human rights activist, fundamental at that, and he is Solomon Ijogbe. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much, Philip. A very good morning. Viewers at home, a very good morning this morning.
Okay.
And my brother, I thank you
very much
for taking a very beautiful stand this morning.
Okay, I'll come back quickly to you to have your thoughts in this direction of the fuel subsidy, the suspended strike. But let's hit you on what you said earlier. I did say that what you said, begging for questions. Now, you made mention of the loosed borders. You also made mention of the fact that the palliative, or rather the subsidy, was supposed to be sustained up to June.
Yes.
As an economy expert, are you insinuating that the subsidy under President Tinubu should have also been extended from July to the end of the year? And again, are you also insinuating that Nigerians, should be given some cushioning effect, preparatory to when the subsidy will be removed? And what cushioning effect do you propose?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Philip. Let me continue from where I stopped. First, I've argued if actually subsidy truly exists. I've argued in this platform before in time past. Like I said what subsidy could be worse than somebody being given a waiver to the tune of 16 trillion? Do you know what that amount would have, contributed to Nigeria economy, to economic growth? That's one on the other side. Now let's come to the issue of, I talk about the issue of border, that somebody has not properly, done his responsibility to the fullest. But the individual is not efficient, and yet nothing has been said. Let's also forget that the immediate past, Controller General of Council also came and argued on the floor of Senate to say that, the figure that NAPC is dishing out, telling the public about fuel subsidy, they should check it, that something is wrong with those figures. Now, the question I keep asking, only NAPC is in charge of importation. They know the figure. As I speak to you, Mr. Philip, today, still ask them how many, quantity, in terms of quantity of petrol that is being consumed on a daily basis. They just give throw figure to it.
Okay, but how do you guys try to check this? You've always been mentioning the issue. How do we tackle the issue?
We need
to check all this. Because you mentioned the fact that there's no transparency.
Now,
what do you do to that aspect of bringing about transparency?
Well, what I expect for President to do is this. During the period between his election, that's election, when he won election and when he was sworn, I expected him to take a retrospect back to the issue of subsidy, to take a deliberate action on what to do.
Or
not
to
the extreme pronouncement.
To investigate it.
Yes, a lot of investigation should be done in the issue of, for subsidy.
So why that investigation is going on? Why that investigation is going on?
Let me answer the question.
It should be extended.
No, I'm not saying it should be extended. The immediate past administration put a measures on ground to say by June ending, such that would be removed. And they talked about palliative. I expected on the day of inauguration, President Tinubu to say, this is palliative that will be done, or I'll be having a round table with this discussion they're having with NSC and TUC, whatever now. Would have been taking place now. Hoping that by June ending, something will be removed.
Okay.
But why are we now, discussing now when the effects already been is affecting the common Nigerians?
Okay, so
now, in other words, you are throwing the baby with the bathwater away.
So what you are insinuating is that it should have ended also in June. Preparatory to when it ends,
yes,
there should be a very rapid process by the Tinubu's government on how to tackle issue of palliatives.
Yes, now the party would have been on ground, and again, I'm telling Mr. President today, he should not allow these few minority or group of people who have thrown the burden of subsidy removal to the Nigerians, because Nigeria is being punished. So that I speak to you. You just investigate and punish them, and they should be brought to book.
You ventilated your point.
Yes.
Now you heard what he said. Do you concur as per the preparatory arrangement on how it should have been done in terms of subsidy removal from fuel?
Painfully, Nigeria is a cabal, run by the cabal, for the cabal.
That doesn't sound like good news.
Because it is unlawful to live in an unlawful society lawfully. So painful that we have found ourselves in this space where things seem to be progressively retrogressing, where it seems to be moving forward or are practically moving backward. I should have thought that when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, took over matter of leadership, like he met with security operatives, if you like, security agencies, and then had a discourse with them on the need for them to synergize, he should have as well met with the chain of distribution and, if you like, the cabal within the cabal in the petroleum products vicinity before making callous comments. With all due respect, the comment that subsidy is gone. I checked the budget. There's no subsidy. Subsidy is gone. Was a callous comment.
I take exception to that, basically, because if you look at the budget under the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, it was to end in June.
That's what I'm saying.
And so he inherited, what he got.
I said it was callous.
If you say callous, I think it will not be kind enough. The world will not be civilized enough for you to make do with that.
I tell you why it's very civilized. Because it is very uncivilized of a president to have made such an inaugural speech.
But I would prefer, I take exception to that. I would prefer that you are objective, You just hit it
It's objective,
how
Mr.
it should be,
Mr. Philip.
without making any
it is your view. Let me tell you. How would you see a president who has been asked to make an acceptance speech, for instance? Because the inaugural speech was an acceptance speech.
Yeah.
Rather than dwell on the issue. Now, because I had said here some time ago, after the taking over of Mr. President, that the issue of the fuel subsidy and the hike in pump price is a case of man to man. Now, I tell you why I feel and I know that is callous. If he had curtailed himself and restricted himself within the confines of appreciating those who voted for him, in quotes, and the taking over of government, and waited till the time to address the issue, because now he's trying to address the issue of fuel subsidy.
Yeah.
Whereas within the first 1 hour of his comments within the Eagle Square, the entire length and breadth of the Nigerian state have been shut down. Was it that comment increased fuel price? Was it that comment instantaneously removed fuel subsidy? No.
He had earlier said that tough decisions are bound to be made.
Mr. Philip,
to
the removal of fuel subsidy, get it right.
And so when he said that even before the inauguration,
get it right.
were you not already from the body language that is exactly what is going to be like?
Get it right and get it right, Mr. Philip. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, did not remove subsidy at the Eagle Square. As we speak, he has not removed fuel subsidy. We are not getting it. Fuel subsidy has been stopped, but will take effect from June ending, which is 1st of July, to allow the likes of Dangote refinery take effect from that July 1st. So, at best, what he had just said was that government will not pay subsidy for 1st July. But the presentation and the time of presentation matters, because if you do the right thing at the wrong time and at the wrong place, you have done the wrong thing.
Okay, let's push forward.
So in pushing forward, that comment had created a lot of problems.
Okay.
Now the question is this: the federal government had told us before now that they were subsidizing fuel up to about 50%. That's why we are buying it at the rate at which you are buying. Now, what has now happened? Because if you add 50% to 210 naira as majorly being sold by independent marketers, or 189 naira has been sold by the major marketers, you will not get up to 250 naira. So how has
you will not get up to 250 naira? Are you saying that?
Yes,
Almost
yes. You will not. But if you ask me,
but you may not have the right figures to interrogate that. So
I'm just telling you now that if you take 50% of it and add of it, you are still not going to get 500 naira.
Okay, exactly. I thought you said 250 earlier.
I've said that, but I don't want us to start arguing, because you talk about landing, because I'm talking of landing costs.
Yeah.
You are looking at the 6 points costs. When you are talking of the figure of subsidy, you are talking from the cost of landing and then distribution.
So what you're saying is that the process is not transparent.
In fact, transparent is, it's transguardian.
Okay, I'll come back.
Do you know that? Let me tell you.
I'll come back.
The difference between transparency and transguardiancy is that the parent will be more caring.
Okay, I'll come back because we must move forward.
We must move forward.
Yes.
The Nigerian government must show cause to the Nigerian people if in fact they believe by elements that they were elected and not selected, that they were voted and not rooted into the Nigerian space of governance. They must show cause. They must begin to feel the pains of the people before taking certain, because nobody is saying, in fact, let me put it on record, that a Solomon Ijoba is not opposed to fuel subsidy removal. That a Solomon Ijoba is not opposed to petroleum product deregulation. But the problem I have is that if you say the NNPCL is now a private company, and that does not have power to do certain things. I do not expect an NNPCL to not fix price.
I think you have to control your emotions. And,
no, I am.
We need not to whip sentiments.
I'm not whipping sentiments.
Okay.
Let me tell you, do not know how. I was Philip. Let me tell you how painful it is.
Solomon, don't let me take a break on this.
Okay.
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Now, let's get your view. You are an economy expert, and what is on the table right now is by the labor union is to increase minimum wage from 30,000 to 200,000 naira. Take it from there. How do you see that?
Increasing minimum wage to address the announcement effect that have been made by the president. I think, to me, that will not go a long way to solve, the grave issue that we have. Like he said, that mere pronouncement, had a ripple effect on the economy, and that again, went down to the economy, shook the economy. As I speak to you, the economy still has what we call reckless effect on the economy. And again, I said the effect alone also increased the misery. Further deepen the misery index of Nigeria economy.
If you are saying that the 200,000 naira minimum wage, it shouldn't be extended to 200,000.
What I mean is,
what are you suggesting?
I'm coming. Now, can we count? Nigeria population is over 200 million. So the working force that I'm referring to, how many percent are they? That's question number one. Then number two, let's look at the major contributors to Nigeria economy. We're looking at small scale, businesses, SMEs. They are the major contributor. Now, what palliatives on ground for them regarding this? I have not seen anyone yet to say.
I think all of this will be what they will be discussing again as they.
I saw the agreement that was made. Like I said, I hastily.
The meeting has been adjourned to June 19. I believe the implementation process will tackle all of this. But while you had the floor, you also made mention of the NNPCL being the sole importer of the product, which should be checked, because if we are to say that the downstream sector has been deregulated properly, then it should be that other marketers will have to occupy the space in order to bring about competitiveness and to check against monopoly. And again, there's this challenge where other marketers are also saying that they have a challenge accessing the US dollars, because if they have to import, it means they have to use the US dollars. And the situation where one is only having access to it via the CBN and the others only have to visit the parallel market will bring a lot of defeat in terms of an equivalent task that they will go through in this. How do you salvage this as an economist?
Like I told you, I said our greatest problem is NNPC. Now NNPC Limited. They are our greatest problem. In fact, the issue of subsidy, that's why I say, I expect this current president to put a searchlight on NNPC Limited, because they have been our greatest, problem since the issue of subsidy is concerned. Because they are the sole importer of fuel into Nigeria. They know the figure. The figure they dished out, I don't know how they have it. I asked a valid question just now. I said, how did they arrive at 511 that they are selling? They determine the price for other marketers to follow suit. Have they imported a single fuel into Nigeria? No. Ask me. No. Like the issue you just mentioned, the issue of exchange rate. And as I speak to you, I think one of their directors or so, came out to say, only those marketers that is qualified, they use the word qualified, to import will be given license. How many importers have been given license? I speak to you today.
And what could be exactly.
So what is the yardstick? What yardstick are they using? In other words, the subsidy removal, I think we're going to see on that face in Nigeria that will be worse than where we're coming from.
Exactly what we don't want to see. And
exactly. That is why I said the president was in a hurry to make such an announcement. He would have put a proper team in place, to check the assets of NNPC Limited, an independent body, that will investigate. Funny enough, in Nigeria, the problem will suffer. We don't have data.
Okay, let's believe that all of this will be tackled, as they continue to dialogue. Now, Solomon Idiogbe, you are a human rights activist and a civil society activist, and we have seen in the history of Nigeria that protests massively don't help Nigerians, or rather, it worsens the situation. And while we're having this whole drama about the planned strike by the union, you know, other unions joining, electricity workers joining, you know, you know how that toll would bring, you know, to the economy that is already fragile. What do you see about appreciating the suspense?
I don't know appreciate the suspense.
Oh.
For me, I have my reservations about these NSCTUC arrangements. You know, for those of us who have been in the field, or rather on the field, looking at issues and have participated with the labor union, like my brother have asked, what's the percentage of workers in Nigeria? What TUC obviously is not looking at is the effect of the increment in minimum wage on the Nigerian people. Because even this issue of fuel subsidy removal and the increment in pump price, hike in pump price, has a catastrophic chain effect on the Nigerian populace.
On inflation?
Yes, because first, transportation will go up. Once transportation will go up, housing, feeding, clothing,
Yeah.
every other.
It affects all sectors.
All sectors. And then it means we are going on hyperinflation. And you are asking, once your landlord gets to know that your salary has left from 30,000 to 200,000 naira, Baba, you must bring inside. I ain't go collect auto from your salary. So, and when you are doing that, you're forgetting the SMEs, who, of course, who are living on petty things, petty trades. How many of them live on minimum wage? So you must look at those factors.
Indices, yeah.
So before you now start talking about, and let me tell you, Philip, if you remember some time ago when we had a discussion, I told you that sometimes I have a feeling that this NSCTUC thing is always a cash out thing. I have an opinion.
Okay, well, I don't have the right guest, you know.
No, I said I have an opinion.
To tackle that.
I said I have an opinion.
But I think you just have to overlook that and
no,
we can make it right.
I'm just
looking at the present.
Because they have not made it right. Look at it now. The president has told you that's going to set up committee another waste. Because you must fund the committee. Money we will not get. Now you won't pay. Now, why was it that Dangote refinery was planning to take off in July? Because subsidy will end in June. Why is it that...
That's your assumption? That's your assumption?
It's obvious.
Okay.
It's not an assumption. They have told you that so that the proper delegation will take place and all other qualified, in quote, can I have rights? Now, the same fuel, when we not feel refined, one individual having been given several waivers, has now the right to refine, and the Nigerian state cannot fund the repairs, not just even building, repairs of the existing refineries.
I think that was we should be looking forward to.
It will not happen. Let me take you.
I think I have information there.
Let me tell you why.
I'll come back to you.
Let me tell you why it will not happen. I'm not sure you have taken a look or you have listened lately to the clip, because I took time to go back to look at how this first subsidy had started and where we have gotten ourselves into. I remember that this current president and the immediate past president, at the time when Goodluck Jonathan was president, had protested,
yes,
saying that first subsidy was a scam, that it doesn't exist. Just like they told us that insurgency in the northeast was a major setback for government and they could handle it. Now, let me tell you, if you forgot. Okojo-Iweala, the then minister for finance, is on record, go to the archives, came out on a public discourse. She became emotional at a point, narrating the ordeal she went to when her mother was kidnapped. That the condition for the release of her mother was that she released funds for first subsidy. You know, she was part of those proponents of removal of subsidy, that it was eating too much, and to her it wasn't, it was full with so much secrecy and insincerity, and as such, as Minister of Finance, was not going to release funds into that anymore. And then her mother was kidnapped, and then while she was narrating her ordeal, one of the conditions given was that she resigned as a Minister for Finance. First of all, release the funds, as it were, tender resignation, and leave the country. That if she didn't do that, her mother would be sacrificed. You know, and then when she was recanting, her emotion failed her. And then, but for the president's insistence that she shouldn't worry, that security operatives will go, and then they went on, and in her words, he said, thank God it worked. But that sometimes in a down moment, she had had time to reason that what if it didn't work out? Was she going to sacrifice her mother for this country? I take you back again to another one where late NAFDAC lady, Professor Dora Okoyele, was almost assassinated because she was insisting on the issue of NAFDAC, in fact, production of drugs and the possession of drugs that were illegal. Now, I'm telling you that people who went doing this kidnap, according to her, we are strong cabal, that the network was a strong one. That is to tell you that it was not a ruffian market. It was a mafia market. And it has been a mafia market. If it was not a mafia market and a syndicate thing, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had not concluded his speech, had not even left the podium, making his inaugural speech, when within the length and breadth of the Nigerian state, filling stations were shut down.
Okay. You've said that earlier.
So, point being made here,
okay,
the issue of asking for a 200,000 naira increase
doesn't hold water.
It is unrealistic.
Okay.
Because you and I know that the Nigerian government can never, quote me, that Solomon Idogbe said this, can never lift your minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 200,000 naira when many states are even yet to pay the 30,000 minimum wage, saying they cannot domesticate because they cannot pay salary.
I was looking at reports where in a state, I think Kwara, where it said that the governor gave room for the state workers to
work 3 days.
To work 3 days. Taking 2 days off, from the 5 days for the week. Now, is that the best way to address this?
I think that's a waste of productivity.
Okay.
They are productive hours. There are hours that need to put into production. It's only in Nigeria that people goes to sleep in the night. In the US, Canada, and advanced country, they work.
They do shifts.
They do shifts all through the night.
But the governor's hands seems to be tied, and that was why I had to say that in order to ameliorate the plight of the workers.
Mr. Phillips, there's nothing like hand being tied. He has said it all. There's a serious cabal in this country. We are heading towards another cabal. I think I asked a very valid question. There was a swap deal, crude for refined petrol, by foreign. What happened to the deal? 2016 to date. NNPC still came on board, start dishing out figure to say, oh, we are still subsidizing to $2 trillion. Where is all this money coming from? NNPC will give out the figure. Nobody tends to investigate it. There will be pressure put on them to pay. Okay. Pressure will not be paid. Oh, pay fuel subsidy. Oh, there's fuel subsidy. All these fuel subsidies, they scam. I want to give information to what he was saying just now regarding 511 that was dished out by NNPC. You see the rush to which NNPC adjusted their meter to 511. The question is, how did they arrive?
Because they were still selling old fuel.
That's one. An announcement was made by the NNPC Limited, Ekari. He said, I'm quoting directly, that even if Dangote refinery stop running, and even production refinery will not come down. That it will not affect even the current price. That's why I keep asking myself. And this is the question that the president should be asking. How did you arrive at 511?
Okay, let's look at the positives. We may mention of the refineries, for instance, building on the refineries, encouraging marketers, to also access dollars and other initiatives to bring about import of these products in a landing cost that will, bring about respite in the direction of Nigerians. Do you see on the positive that if the market is competitive in this direction, that is going to bring a reduction eventually on the price of petrol?
I love the condition he gave. If NNPC said only those that are qualified will be given license, what the yardstick are they using? They should come to the public now and tell us what and what they will do. The condition that will be set for a given marketer to meet this condition, this is important.
But if the conditions are fair, on the positive,
if the condition, if that's why, if But in Nigeria states, I doubt if it will be fair.
Let's not be pessimistic.
Okay.
I'm trying to see.
I have reasons. If I'm being pessimistic, I'm giving
insight.
reasons. Yes.
I'm trying to bring your insight
Yes.
to the public, to the glare of the public, on if there's going to be respite, if the nitty-gritty is done, if the right peg is placed on the right hole, would there be respite in terms of the price of petrol?
You are referring to an Ethiopian state, an imaginary state that we can imagine if things are done well. To answer your question, yes.
Okay.
If things are done right.
And if it's a conditional word.
Yes.
So we should drive.
That's why I said I keep using the word conditional. You know why?
So let's drive this discussion to a conclusion where things must be done well.
Philip.
For who? Is it me and you that will push the government to do things right? Our border that have been loosed, that people were smuggling fuel to date, and there has been president who came, who has done 8 years, who said, oh, there's nothing like fuel subsidy. Later, who said, oh, there is subsidy. This is what should be done. What was done?
Okay,
I'm coming. He made a lot of promises to Nigerians. Oh, we'll build refineries. We'll repair one. To date, 8 years.
He built.
He built.
Okay, at present, we don't have a minister of petroleum, so basically it falls on the president as the minister. What do you expect the president to say in order to calm frayed nerves in this direction?
Like the point I said, the president should set up an independent body that will give license to these independent marketers. Free hand, and like I said, those conditions should be made public. Should be made public. Nothing should be hidden. Because NAPC Limited, as it stands now, is shaded with a lot of secrecy. And that's been our problem. They only come to throw figures at us. And that's all. Imagine the age to which they came out to say, even if Dangote refinery is working today to full capacity, and Port Harcourt refinery come on board, that fuel price will not still go down to 511. And the president asked the NPC, how did you arrive at this figure? How? With what figure did you arrive at this? How did you arrive at this? Until this is being done right. And I keep challenging our institution. We must have a workable institution whereby governance people are given free hand legitimately to do what is right in this country. There is a lot of secrecy that need to be. In fact, the president have a lot of onions in his desk.
Okay.
Like I said, although the mistake has been made, he's trying now to correct the mistakes. Like you asked me a question, he said the issue of protest. I was coming to that. Nigeria have every right, like I am now, have every right to protest.
Yeah, as long as the protest is not hijacked. That's the challenge.
What do you
Is the duty?
No, Philip, can Philip define to me hijacked? Is the first subsidy?
You have the floor.
Is the first subsidy not hijacked?
I'll come to you. You have the floor.
What's the definition of hijacked?
It is the duty of the state actor to provide security to the issue of protest. The issue of, now look at what the reasons I was given by the judge to say, oh, there will be an examination that is coming up, WAEC and all of that. Without that situation whereby there will be shift in WAEC. Do you know what devastating effect that this mere pronouncement has caused to them? I saw some children from Mugbawa here trekking to a motor. From Mugbawa, trekking to a motor, trekking to India College. Now you can imagine the pains of those in the villages, whereby a school may be about 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers, that they can afford transport. But now they cannot. They have to trek to go and write those exams. What worst impact will that mere pronouncement done resulting to status quo?
I think this trickles down to state governors to also come in and bring a palliative, to cushion the effect. We heard that of Kwara State, for instance. He just made mention of some students even trekking long distances, who are already having their certificate exams on, but for them to sit for that exam, they have to trek long distances as a result of this hike, subsidy removal on fuel and the hike in pump price. How do we tackle this headlong in the positive that will bring about respite to Nigerians?
Philip, it is not yes, it is a duty of government to protect lives and property, to create succor for the citizens and all that. Because
we can't undermine the role of the National Economic Council, of which comprises the governors.
Yes, excuse me.
They have a big role to play.
This issue of first subsidy is actually not an issue of state government, because it's not within the powers of purview of the state governments. But at best, they can try to make palliative, if you like, malleative.
Make available buses.
Yes.
Also take the pain from Nigerians.
But Philip, are they also not going to buy fuel? Because state governors don't manufacture fuel.
Because that will bring about subsidy again anymore. That's bringing back subsidy.
So you,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so because in the
but is there nothing the government can subsidize for its citizens?
Let me tell you, it's not the governors. The buck stops at the table of Mr. President. Philip, painfully, a day before this callous.
I take exception to that word, Carlos. If there's any way you can express yourself without casting aspersion
on the NNPC. On NNPC, yes, a callous increase. How can you increase from 189 to 200 to 511? It's callous. It's inhuman. It's barbaric. In fact, it's demonic. Philip, it will interest you to know that a day before that day, I bought 30 liters for 6,300 naira. Today, I'm buying the same 30 liters for 30 something to about 35,000 naira. 6,003 to 35,000. And you expect me to be happy?
How does 6,003 amount to 35,000 for 30 liters? It shouldn't be.
Okay, for 511 naira for 10 liters.
That gives you about 500 plus, and so about 5,000 plus, 5,110, for instance.
No, that's you are talking of 10 liters.
Yes, you do that arithmetic for 10 liters.
Yes,
5,000 times 3.
And I'm telling you,
it amounts to roughly
20 something,
15,000 plus.
It is not. Carry your 30 liters to a filling station.
You have 10 liters to give you.
I said carry. I'm telling you now. Say carry your 30 liters jerry can. You will know whether I came here to give you figures.
Okay.
You'll be shocked. Do you know why? A lot of these filling stations also do sharp practices.
I was coming to that. I was coming to that.
You will be amazed, and that's why I said it's a case of mad man. Juju where they bring. When they never cost, if they cash people, who they say make cash?
Solomon, I think I can take you on that. It's not a case of man. It's because the state actors face to do the needful.
It's a case of man. Not be the man.
Do you know the former governor? I was listening to the former governor. Sorry, you still have the floor.
No. He has the floor.
I'm providing information. Okay. He still has the floor. Do you know the former governor of the state? I don't mention name. Was saying on there that even if status quo have to be reversed, that how do you now make the so-called market up those selling fuel to not to hold the fuel or not to do otherwise, that you have little or nothing you can do to them. I was weeping, I was shedding tears.
Okay, back to you.
Now let me say this. It is unheard of for an NNPC limited to come and tell us that even if you reduce, even if Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, Abuja refinery, Kaduna refinery, Ijebu refinery, and Dangote refinery start producing fuel, it will not come down.
Okay, you made mention of the need to regulate what they dispense.
Yes,
basically.
At
the pump.
Yes, I'm coming.
And that also falls on state governments.
No, it's not.
To ensure that they also monitor through.
No. I'll tell you why it's not government. It's not government.
Okay, but how do we bring that to bear?
When I finish this, I'll tell you why. The reason why you are having high costs of petroleum is that government told you that they import, that cost of importation is why you have increase. Because we left 2 digits to like 3 digits. From like 12 naira to 25 naira to 45 naira to 64 naira to 100 and something to 200. I don't know if you get it. That the reason is that the cost of importation, the landing cost, is so much and all that, and that's what they subsidize. Now, if you now remove the landing costs and the cost of, exporting and importing, if you like, where they have done significantly on the figures. So why would NNPC now tell us that because you don't need now to export, or if you like import, you just roll the crude into Dangote refinery. They don't roll it out again and give it to us. So there's no, for instance, garbage in, garbage out. Then you now get diesel, kerosene, gas, and all other etc.
different points.
Yes, and all that. And then we are expected to not get it cheaper because it's not going to stay in the high sea for 30 days.
Exactly.
And then you are not going to send naval officers to escort it and ensure that it's not stolen. That pirate does not pirate it. And then, you know, the issue of bad fuel does not come. That will not, after entering your tank, federal government will be collecting money to clean the fuel inside your tank. Order will not now arise. So that if we now have bad tank, we cannot hold Dangote refinery. Yet you are still telling me that the price will not come down. Now, to answer your question of regulation of pump price, no state government, no police, no army, no civil defense has the power to regulate.
And even what is dispensed to make sure that the right quantity.
It is a former DPRO. We still refer to them as DPRO. Now mainstream, upstream, downstream regulatory agency. It is only that. It's a federal institution.
So
that has the sole power.
So it means a body is not doing its function.
No, but then let me also tell you, in the last 1 week plus, we have been on the neck of DPRO. DPRO does not regulate price, but they regulate dispensing. It is NNPC until recently were supposed to have the powers to regulate price. And Femi Falana has taken the president only that by the laws as it stands today, it is only the president that has the power to regulate pump price. You understand? Because NNPC is a private company. It is, since there's no minister for petroleum, it's the president that the box now falls on his table.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, it is only that organization of federal government that has the power to shut down filling station, enforces of petroleum product at a regulated price.
Okay.
Now, what they do, it is only also civil defense, that's NSCDC, that has the power to measure, but they don't have the powers to shut down.
All right, thank you.
So I'm just putting it clear so that people do not start saying, anytime you see government setting up task force, such task force is being empowered.
All right, thank you. I'm afraid that's much we can take on this discussion. Big thanks, Solomon Ijogbe, and of course, big thanks to you, Dr. Presley, for taking our time to be part of this.
Thank you so
much. This is a very, very big challenge, and a lot rests on the office of the president to tackle this headlong.